to Guided Spirit Conversations. I'm your host, Marla Goldberg. This podcast has been created with you in mind to acquaint you with some of the most incredible metaphysicians and spiritual leaders from around the globe who have helped others change their lives. In this interactive hour, you will be offered insights and techniques to help you make a difference in your life. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on your favorite listening platform. And here we go, on to the show. Hello, everyone. How are you doing? And happy Thursday. I want to start the show by asking if we could please send some prayers to Ukraine, to the countries around Ukraine who are graciously opening up their borders to allow the people trying to move out of Ukraine into a safe space. Send them prayers as well for their infrastructure. I'm sure is being taxed a little bit. It is, it's a shame that this is going on and that this beautiful, beautiful country is being broken down. But the beauty of that is sometimes you have to break down things to rebuild them. And so now I'm going to bring on our guest, Melissa Lyons. Now, Melissa was on last year and we had a great conversation. The problem is we had technical difficulties. So we have Melissa back. We're going to have a great show. And let me tell you about her. Melissa is a best-selling author. Oh my God, she has two of the cutest children's books I have ever laid my eyes on. But adults can read them too. She is the co-founder of The Healing Table and is a self-discovery expert who specializes in helping people find the answers to life's most challenging questions, including, why is this happening to me? And how can I recover from this? Described as raw and relatable, Melissa uses her own vulnerability, heartbreaking experiences, and humility to reach and connect with people of all ages in deep and meaningful ways. Her personal journey, which includes decades of entrepreneurial and corporate business experience, inspired her to ask important questions about her own life, purpose, and fueled her search for more meaning and fulfillment. Melissa's books, programs, and coaching have helped tens of thousands of people heal and find their peace in their hearts and their minds. Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you, Marla. It's great to be with you again.
It's so great to be with you. I so enjoy you. So Melissa is a thought nutritionist. So that's how she coins herself. So let's talk about explaining what is a thought nutritionist.
Well, a thought nutritionist, I think, is someone who helps you realize that your thoughts do have nutritional value for your soul. And as we go about life and we count steps and we count calories and we go to the gym and we do all of these things, we don't always pay attention to what's going on in our mind. And that has such a significant impact on our life and how it unfolds for us.
Our thoughts have so much power. People don't seem to understand how much power their thoughts have, even if it doesn't come out of their mouth. Can you give them some explanation of how powerful thoughts are and why they're so powerful and how those thoughts affect one's life, positive and negative?
Well, if you think about it, like your thoughts are your fuel for momentum, whether it be forward or backward, because really nothing stays still, right?
Right.
So everything is always in motion. And so your thoughts are creating the motion for whatever is appearing in your life and for wherever you're heading. And so, before you take a step, it's a thought. Before you respond to something, it's a thought. When you're sitting just contemplating things, those thoughts then are creating the next things that are going to happen in your life. And when we're not aware of them, we become on autopilot sometimes. And then we wonder, like, how did this happen? Or why is this happening to me now? Or, how do I stop this recurring pattern? It's like, well, let's take a look at your thoughts, because there is nutritional value all the way around in the quality of the thoughts that we have in our mind. And it's easier than we think. It's awareness, I think, Marla. That's the most important thing, is to be aware of that power.
It's mindful. And it's interesting because what you'll find, I know I sent you a book. What you find in my book is, like, when you have a thought that is not benevolent, that is not of a higher frequency, which we have. I mean, someone cuts us off. What's our first reaction, right? It's not usually have a good day.
Yeah.
And so those thoughts have energy behind them, and the energy behind acts like a domino effect, or I call it the rubber band effect. What goes out comes back to you tenfold. So stopping it is really important. And, like as soon as you realize what you've done, stop the energy from moving forward. I don't know if you agree or disagree with this.
I agree. In your example of someone cutting you off, yeah, right away I tell myself a story that's different than the story that instantly comes in. It's like he or she must be in a hurry, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, by all means go. So with that, I think that's right. You can redirect it, but sometimes you have to sit with certain thoughts because the energy that they have needs to actually be transmuted through you rather than just ricochet off of you. Sometimes something does you need to process it. So in that case, I think that it's sort of like if you think about the food analogy, every once in a while we want to have junk food, or we need to have junk food, or you know what I mean? Junk food is served to us. And so you sit and I don't, in that case, you might be enjoying it, but but there's sometimes where you do need to sit, but you need to be aware of the fact that the vibrational frequency, as you suggest, is impacting us. So how long do we want to sit there, and what do we want to do with it when we're done? Like, what do we want this to become when we're finished here? And always be mindful of that as well.
So let's go into the next step of that. When somebody's finished with their thought and they want to pack it away and put it in the thought refuse, how do they do it?
Well, let's just talk about before we talk about that. Can I just paint a picture of the nutritional side of things,
Absolutely.
and then we'll be able to talk about. So I see the thoughts as it's based on David Hawkins' scale of consciousness.
Yes.
And so the thoughts have their own frequency, and courage has a frequency of 200, and it sort of breaks the high energy, high frequency, highly nutritious for your soul thoughts. And then the lower energy, the constricting thoughts that have a much lower vibration. So guilt, shame, grief, those emotions are really pulling you in and tightening you, but they have a place and they're giving you a message. So you need to figure out what they are. And then the higher expansive emotions like joy, love, appreciation, gratitude, happiness, all of those things, like you want to stay as long as you can. So if you find yourself in grief, for example, which is often the people that I'm talking to, you don't want to rush anybody through it, and you don't want to give them a timeline, but you do want to make them aware that while they're there in that moment in the grief, they're pulling in that same vibrational level. So the way to get out of it is by step, like feeling a little bit better, feeling a little bit better, feeling a little bit better. For example, remembering something happy about that memory. Yes. And just building on it. It's not like you want to snap into joy and gratitude from the pit of grief, but find ways to feel just a little bit better.
And that's such a great point, because many people feel guilty. You've used the word guilt about grieving. People feel like, oh my God, where's my space if you lose someone, let's say, a dear loved one. There are people that say, get over it. You've been grieving for a month or 6 months, but it's such a personal journey, grief, because we're talking about it. But I think that things like giving yourself, okay, so instead of grieving for 12 hours in the day, maybe grieve for 10. And then go for 9.5 or 9 or 8, or, and bring those happy things that you were mentioning into their thought process.
Exactly. Simple, subtle shifts, I like to say. You don't need to snap away from it, but you need to just work with it to soften it, to add happy memories, to have things that you are grateful for, to think about something that, like, I said to one gentleman who was having a hard time, I said to him, like, you need to go out and get some fresh air. Not you need, I shouldn't use that word, but I did say it to him, like, time to get some fresh air. And he's like, he said, well, this. So I said, well, bring him with you. Bring the spirit of your son with you on your walk. Show him the birds, show him the trees, show him the flowers. Go out with him together. I mean, you're sitting with him alone in your room in your house right now. Take him outside.
And besides, he'd probably appreciate a different perspective of you. So,
They do. I believe that wholeheartedly
well,
that they
those on the
do.
other side see what we see. If they're around us, they're around us. So if you're in a dark, stuffy room, guess what?
Mhm.
So are they. And that might not be the best for them either.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's how you do it. Just think about it as like having nutritional value for your soul. You would not just have a diet of simply junk food and alcohol and tobacco. Like you want to add the greens, the fruits, the vegetables, the
Right.
organic foods. So it's your thoughts are the same.
And to those who are living on a junk food diet filled with coffee and soda and cigarettes, maybe a suggestion, add some greens and color into your diet also, because your body and your mind will thank you for it, because what you ingest does affect your mind as well. Do you agree with that, Melissa?
I do. And I'd like to add to that, though, how you think about what you're taking in also matters. So you might find, like, you see some people who have a poor diet and who are relatively or actually quite healthy. Because as they're eating that, they're actually thinking, I love what I'm eating. This is good for me. Like, you know what I mean? They're happy with what they're eating and their bodies respond in kind. So as much as yes, we'd like to see like the diet be like brought into something like
More
more
balanced.
whole. Yeah, but sometimes people get by with that and you wonder why. And I think it's because how they think about what they're ingesting. And that in itself changes the value of that food.
It does. And I'm one of these people that when I taste something good, it's verbal. It's like, oh, so
That's
there's
funny.
no mistaking when I really like something. But I want to talk about the messy thinker. So first of all, what is a messy thinker?
Well, a messy thinker can be a number of things. One, they could be someone who doesn't pay attention to their thoughts and doesn't clean them up. It could be someone who's not deliberate with what they're thinking. And then it could be someone who really just doesn't, at this moment, for whatever reason, care about what's happening next. They're a little bit disconnected. So it can be because you don't care. It could be because you really like don't care because you're not feeling good. Don't care because you just don't care, or because you just got so much going on and you're so cluttered that you haven't taken time to really work things out. And then the thing about a messy thinker is that messy thinking brings in messy manifesting. And messy manifesting makes us feel a little bit murky, not really happy, not really thrilled with what's coming back to us. And then the cycle continues.
So what kind of suggestions do you have if somebody is a messy thinker and they want to clean up their thinking act? What suggestions do you have for them?
Well, okay. So before giving suggestions, how does one know if they're a messy thinker? Maybe you're like,
Great
I don't know if I'm
question.
a messy thinker.
Thank you for asking that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how does
So
one know?
you know you're a messy thinker when you're not. I kind of gave the answer a second ago, but I really want to point it out. It's like if you're not bringing in and getting the results in your life, like the things that you really want, whether it be physically, emotionally, health wise, career wise, relationship wise, if you're not getting what you really want and you're not really thrilled with what you're getting, it's a messy thinking problem, opportunity to clean it up. And so, how do you go about it? I think journaling is a really important part. Sitting quiet, asking yourself some questions like, what is on my mind? What am I carrying around? And then just write, 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 write. Grab a pen and paper, write down everything that's working, write down everything that's not working, write down what you don't like, write down what you do like, and then compare them. I love to do the opposite. So that if it's easier to write down what you don't want and you don't like, then write down the opposite of what those words are, because that's your clue to what you do want. That in itself starts to clean up your thoughts.
And it's a form of a matrix when people do that. When you put down what you don't want, and then you put on the other side of if you did a list, one side, the left side is what you don't want, and then you do the opposite next to it on the right side. And it gives you just like a really quick photograph of where you are. and what you want in your life and how to, so it gives you the first steps, right? To starting to pay attention and making the moves to shift it.
Yeah, exactly. And I've gone through my journals, and I think it's important if you do have any kind of journaling practice to date these things, because I know some days I remember 2016, there was a specific day and I wrote down lethargic, overweight, weak, feeling useless, and I just like ripped into myself, but that was honestly how I was feeling. And so you can't fool energy. So don't, like they say, oh, whatever, like don't, whatever you focus on growth. Yeah, okay, but you've got to get real with what you're focusing on first in order to clean it out. So, then I wrote down the opposites, and then I see later, like there's a 2017 and then a 2018, like on similar pages. And you see that I definitely have been growing over the years. Not to mean I won't have a bad day, but my bad days are now as good as my good days were then.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. And I really think that it gives you insight into something you as the journaler, may not have realized was really front and center in your process that's holding you back. You think you're doing okay, but then when you start writing these down, you go, "Oh, this is why I'm feeling stuck or not manifesting what I want to manifest." Things like that. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would. And that's on a grander scale. Sometimes it's even more subtle. And the more you pay attention, well, remember my saying, this is what I want, to be remembered by. When you feel yucky, you're really quite lucky. Because the second you feel that, like, ugh, I don't feel good, or my heart's tightened, or you know, anything like that, now it's an instant gratitude for, oh my goodness, my GPS, my personal guidance system is working here. Because I don't feel good right now, it means that somewhere in the back of my mind or the forefront of my mind, I'm thinking about something that's not aligned with my true purpose, my true meaning, who I am. And so I'm feeling crappy about it. And then it pulls it to the front to say, like, now you can do a little bit of that work. Like, is it true? Why am I thinking this? And then you can start to tease it out on a moment by moment basis.
Which is, yeah, I think that's so powerful because following it by moment and bringing awareness to it. What are the things people misunderstand most about the thought nutrition?
Well, probably not even so much a misunderstanding. They don't recognize how powerful and important it is. Like we go, like, let's take it for example, we can get our hair done and we can put our makeup on, we can buy nice clothes, we can do nice things to our house, but wherever you go, there you are. And if you're feeling crappy in the inside, no matter what you do on the outside, it's never going to be like a real alignment or match. So I think people make the mistake of thinking that you can do the work from the outside in, and the work really does come from the inside out. And you can fool it for a little bit of time, but it only lasts so long, and then it snaps back to the reality of what you're thinking. I have an example. Like I was in a store not too long ago, and I was walking around, and I just felt so crappy, and I didn't know why. There's no reason for it. And then I remembered I'd had a conversation with one of my daughters 2 hours earlier, and there was just one little thing that we didn't agree on, and it wasn't a big deal, but I had no idea I'd been carrying that for 3 hours. Like, I was like, honestly, it was like my best friend was like gone or something. And then I realized just that. And then I just had to look at it and say, like, is like, am I really thinking the truth? Do I need to hold on to it? What value is it? And I had this little chat with myself, and it's like, yeah, okay, that's not a big deal. It can go. And then it was gone, and I felt better. But before, I might have been days or weeks, and then it would pile on. The junk drawer that you clean out, and then you add stuff, and you add stuff, and you add stuff. That's your brain, your mind.
I like that junk drawer analogy because it's so true. You clean out the junk drawer and then more junk goes in it. And you have to just keep being mindful of keeping it clean.
Right. And we have spring cleaning course, like spring cleaning ideas. And then there's decluttering courses, and there's all these things to help you clean out your house and your office, which is good, your closets. But you know what? Even more important would be a decluttering of your mind on a weekly, monthly basis. Even if it's as simple as writing down at every Sunday night or the first of every month, what's working, what's not working, what am I carrying, what's heavy, what's light, what do I want? And there could be maybe that's what we could do. Provide a list of like 11 things that you can do to unclutter your mind on a X amount of basis.
That sounds great. Is it something that you would like to undertake and put on your website?
I would love to. Yes, I would love to. And I'm actually working on something that's be 11 ways to create better days. So in a way, I think that might have just helped me finish that. I've got 7 more days to fix. And I think that will be how I can present it, because it is like a uncluttering. And the thing is when we unclutter our minds, then we are able to uncomplicate our lives. And when our lives become uncomplicated or less complicated, our stress is reduced, our overwhelm is reduced. And then all of a sudden, we start to unlock potential that's been sitting, waiting, hidden.
And it also makes more space for the good stuff to come in. So, there's always a purpose for decluttering. It gives you more space to hear spirit, to get guidance, to, free yourself up for more benevolent, fun, supportive actions, thoughts, experiences.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's funny that we're having the conversation, because literally the one that I was working on yesterday was just that, like, you can jam more clothes into your closet, but it's so much harder to find the ones you want. In your mind, it's the same thing. We jam so much in there that it's all of a sudden, it's like, why can't I remember that? Or why can't I get this done? Or why is this not coming to me? It's like, well, it's jammed in so tight.
Right.
You got to pull everything out to see what it is. And it's so nice to feel free. Like, when you clean your house or you clean out the drawer, you feel that freedom. Imagine when you clean out your mind a little bit.
You smell cleaner, the cleanliness, you see it. There's just an open, breezy feeling that you feel when your home has been cleaned.
Yeah. And you feel it in your mind. You do. You do. The other thing I want to say, may I?
Absolutely.
Okay. So the one thing is, when you clean out your drawer, you can see it. You can like, or your house in the spring, you smell it. There's a definite like beginning and an end that you can see. When you're doing that work on the inside out, it's that ongoing process of our own growth and our own journey. And we have to remember the differences. Like, so the process of cleaning out the drawer is the journey, but you actually see the end. The process of cleaning out your mind and freshening it is the journey that is the part that we need to focus on. Because when we're focused on the outcome, it's actually never finished.
Right.
So we'll always be disappointed if we're looking at that outcome.
Yeah, if you're always looking at the end goal and not looking at how you get to the end goal. Because technically, the end goal in this human body is the transition. And even when you transition, you're still working on yourself. So your soul, there is no end. There's no end goal. There's no end to it. So if you focus, like you're saying, on the journey and letting yourself really get into the experience of what you're doing, you honor yourself. That would be my take on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And a little earlier you asked, like, what are some of the mistakes, or what are some of the things people don't realize with thought nutrition? And I would say it's with everything, is that exact point. It's that we do have end goals in certain things we do in life. This one doesn't. This is ongoing. So our real focus has to be enjoying the journey, taking the beauty out of the journey of feeling incrementally better, feeling incrementally happier, to the point where the increments become almost exponential, because it just gets better and better and better. And even when you fall back, and when I say fall back, I'm just using it because that's the way we say, you don't actually fall back, but it feels like that. When that happens, you're falling from such a more expanded space that you're still expanding.
Right.
There's no going completely backwards. It's like you can't unlearn this. You can fall off the track a little bit, but
we're humans.
It changes everything.
But as humans, we will fall off the track. Yeah. But all it is a sign that we need to get more focused or diligent or whatever it might be. But no matter, forgiveness, no matter how much you forgive yourself, I'm going to use that, forgiving yourself, but no matter how much you forgive yourself, you're still going to do things you're going to need more forgiveness for, because we're human beings and we make those faux pas. The same thing goes with thoughts. Like, you're cleaning out your thoughts, but you may have that bad day you were talking about, right?
Yeah.
And in that bad day, you might throw out some of those negative barbs or self-deprecating comments to yourself, which then sort of like make you do the cha-cha with the steps backward. The
Yeah.
good news is you get to take steps forward again.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that analogy. And I heard Michael Beckwith say too, like a bad day is a day where your ego takes over, right? So like a bad day for the ego is a great day for the soul, because from the bad day for the ego, you're being shown what you don't want. You're being shown what doesn't feel good. And now your soul can grow from there, because it's one more time. You see that, so now you know what you want. And when you know what you want, and you start to think about what you want, you just expand even more.
It's so true. Melissa has a gift. So I want to stop here for a second and talk about Melissa's gift to you. So Melissa has a free course called I Have a Choice. Let's talk about the course, and let's talk about where they can find the course.
Okay. So the course, it's a mini course, and it's designed to be done in 3 parts. So you can do it like over 3 days. But if you really feel excited about it, you can sit down and probably get it done in 45 minutes. And it takes you through the process of the fact that, like it or not, we always have a choice. There is absolutely nothing in life that we don't get to choose. We might not always like our choices, but we get to choose. And so, and I Have a Choice, it helps you become more deliberate about your thinking and your choices and clear. I have you create the first of many paths that, if people who work with, when you work with me, you'll do, where you actually put your intentions along a path and you identify the things that pull you off your path. And so in this little course, your awareness is heightened to the sense that you actually really pay more attention to when you feel yucky, that you're lucky, and that you need to find your way back to center. And then you know your way back to center because you've already figured it out from the work you've done.
And you may take a detour, and I don't say a negative detour, but instead of going from point A to point B, it's like shopping, right? It's like you go to this store and then you plan on going to that store, but oh, you see this new place just opened up a few blocks in a different direction. So you go check out that place, and then you go to the other place you were going to go to, but you get to the places you want to go. And it doesn't mean because you deviate your path of nutrition that it's going to be a negative thing. I think people are so conditioned to think label, it's either good or bad, positive or negative. And I really feel that that is one of the big things that truly needs to be shifted, the labels. Not, do you know what I mean by that?
I'm so glad you brought that up. That's so important. There is no bad, there is no wrong. It's just, where do you want to go from here? Because whatever brought you to that point is already in the past. So you take the lesson, the blessing, whatever you want to call it, and just move on. Fresh start, fresh start, fresh start, with, of course, the learnings under our belt.
Absolutely. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, go to Melissa's website at melissa-lyons.com, where you can find this link to this class, I Have a Choice. Did I say that right? I Have a Choice. You can also find the link on the messages, and it'll be on the marketing card. So there'll be a lot of places to find this course.
Absolutely. If anyone has trouble, they can just find my email on my website, and I'll help you.
Perfect. So what role does spirituality play in nutrition, thought nutrition?
In terms of frequency, you mean? What do you mean?
Well, so spirituality in the journey of thought nutrition.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. So spirituality, in terms of spirituality, we believe that we're here for a purpose. We believe that we all have our gifts to share, and we're on our path to creating joy in our lives, right? Would you agree
Yes.
with that from a spiritual point of view? So the
Yes.
thought nutrition allows you to actually think about or pay attention to what you're thinking about, to recognize how high on that spiritual frequency scale of spiritual frequency that we're at. And we know that, like, if it's like a radio station, we're vibrating low. So like, say we're vibrating at 92.5 FM when we're feeling jealousy or revenge. And when we're feeling courage, we're at like 95. And then when we're feeling like appreciation, we're at 97. So if you think about that, the higher you are on your frequency in terms of what you're thinking about, the more spirituality can work with you and bring you that which you are attracting, depending on where you're broadcasting from. Does that make sense?
It's a law of attraction, I believe,
It's a
is what
law of
you're.
yeah, it's absolutely.
And law of attraction is definitely a very quantum, scientific piece of any, whether it's your power of your thoughts, the power of your words, the power of your choices. They all walk hand in hand together and weave together, because really you can't have one without the other. As humans with egos, we have to have thoughts.
100%. And not everybody in our world, yes, law of attraction, everybody like is knows what it means, but there are, and probably all of your listeners do too, because that's why they're attracted and brought into your work. But there are so many people out there that don't actually buy into the law of attraction. However, they do see that, when it gets bad, it gets worse. When it gets good, it gets better. Like we see it all of the time.
Right.
And I think it's, from a spiritual perspective, it's like, what do you believe you deserve? And we deserve love. We deserve infinite love. We were created with infinite love in mind. And that's where I think spirituality really plays the biggest role. It's like, remember, you were sent here to experience love.
Yeah. And unconditional love to the highest and best good that you can receive it. Meaning the people you choose to be your parents, to be in your soul, that are in your soul group, they might need to hold back their love, put conditions on it so that you can learn how to find unconditional love. So with thoughts and nutrition, I'm just going to go back to your words. I feel that spirituality definitely goes hand in hand to it, because your thoughts are powerful to what you're going to bring more of to yourself.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And recognizing, like you said, that we're never going to think perfectly or live perfectly, but be aware of where you are and where you want to be. Always understand, like, you don't get in your car. Well, very rarely do you get in the car on public transit without a destination in mind.
Right.
You know where you're going. But we wake up in the morning sometimes and we just go about our day without a destination in mind. Like when I go to bed tonight, I want to have felt, on an hourly basis, gratitude and joy. And I want to be able to shift from animosity to acceptance. Like, these are the turns I'm going to take in my day from start to end. And so I think that when we wake up with our end in mind each day about how we want to end our day, that helps us also be more deliberate in our thinking.
Well, would you consider that intention setting, like start of the day intention setting?
Absolutely. But again, how often do we not do it? So then it's like, okay, so how often do we want to do it? And it's like, it should be like, I remember in the teachings of Abraham, when they talk about segment planning, right? Segment planning, where it's like, as you get in your car and go from A to B, this is how you want to feel, or this is what you want to experience. Our life is like that from morning to night. And the more that we pay attention to that, the more we'll automatically be aware of what we're thinking, and then our thinking. Because if we're not getting the responses in our day that we want, we know that it's with our thought.
That's really true. And I think I don't think spirituality is separate from thought nutrition. It definitely is a hand-in-hand concept.
I think that's why I stumbled a bit, because we talked about it earlier, and it's like, Yeah, I don't know how to separate them, but that you've just said it. They're not really, they're inseparable.
They are, everything
Yeah.
is. But I will say that people do separate. I feel that a lot of humans tend to compartmentalize their things. So it's not like everything is blended like a beautiful weaved blanket. It's like, here's a box for thought, here's a box for choice, here's a box for forgiveness, here's a box for this. And in all essence, all of these things all blend together into a beautifully colorful tapestry of life.
Yeah, I love that. That sounds beautiful. That is beautiful. And so if you're, again, if you're not getting out of your days the things you want to get out of your days in terms of how you feel about what's going on, then chances are you are I can't say that word.
Compartmentalized.
Thank you. So chances are you've done that, and so that can affect the flow, and it is all one system.
It is. It is
Yeah,
definitely all one system.
yeah.
But like systems, it just might be, just it might be off to the right a little bit or a little high, a little low, but it's part of the same system.
Yeah.
Do you get the analogy that the metaphor I'm thinking? Because I'm just seeing this orb and I'm like saying, oh, it could be up here, it could be there, it could be there, but it's still in the circle of the orb. So it's still in
100%.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even and within your orb then too, we go through different phases and seasons of our life where part of it's bigger and part of it's smaller, and sometimes it's like throbbing in pain, and sometimes it's beating in excitement, and to recognize that, again, that's all part of it too, and to not begrudge it, but to see what it's there for, really to be an observer rather than a judger.
Yeah. I agree. I like that, being an observer, because it's so important to not only observe ourselves, but observe our surroundings. And it goes back to what we talked to at the very beginning, which was technically mindfulness.
Yes.
Being mindful of what's in front of you, what you're thinking about, how you're reacting. And that's a huge one, is reacting. Don't you think?
100, yeah, totally. Because your reaction is definitely thought based. So you have the thought that evokes a feeling, and then that feeling causes you to react, and then you react, and then you don't like the outcome. And so then you start thinking it, and you find that. So at some point, where do you break it? Where do you
Exactly.
break it? You got to think about it differently in order to
Right.
get a different outcome.
Well, you have a different strategy. You learned you like, the strategy didn't work. Let's try this one. It's like recipes, right? It's like you've got the same recipes, but you tweak it with a little of this or a little of that. Take this out, put this in. How did that come out? Okay, you didn't like that. Take that out. Try something else. But it's all about trial and error to find your way.
Yes, and when you have a recipe that you're creating, I think almost always you have an idea of what it's going to look like in the end, like what you're expecting. Like when you're making apple pie, you're not going to expect to see a blended drink. And so if we don't have a bit of an expectation of what we want to see in the end of whatever it is we're going through, why do we think we're going to get there?
That's
But
a
that
great
that idea
question.
of having that vision of what you want, how you want to feel, what you want to experience, if we don't have a bit of an idea of where you're going, and you're just leaving it out to the universe, then that's what you're going to get back. And that's when you get back to messy thinking. Maybe isn't the right word, but you can't. Yeah, imagine putting your pie in the blender and saying, "Here, have a slice of pie."
It still tastes really good.
Especially adults crave.
I had a bakery. I had on my menu, it was an apple pie cupcake.
There you go.
But it's thinking out of the box too. So that brings another point to it, is that it may not show up the way you think it should show up, but be open to the way it's going to show up, because it might be really an out of the box concept.
I love that you just said that. And I just heard that this morning. Like thinking about vision boards, and we have like pictures, for example, on a vision board of what we want to create or experience. So when you look at that, so let's just take a shiny new car as an example because it works. And you have a red sports car. And then you had the feeling that's associated with your red sports car. Now the next step is to get rid of the picture of the sports car and keep the feeling. Because maybe you're going to get something even better than that. But if you're stuck on what it looks like, you kind of hold yourself in that box. But if you can let go of what it looks like and keep that feeling, you've now created space for whatever it is to come in that will align to that feeling.
I truly, truly agree that it's just so important to let go of expectations.
Yeah.
You know what you want, but allowing what happens to come in and have it be organic and authentic, and it might be even better than you even thought it was going to be.
It usually is, but we
Yeah.
just have to let go of control.
And fear. I think fear has a huge
Yeah.
piece in here because you're afraid that, am I doing it right? Am I not doing it right? Or if I do this, what's going to change around me? You know, my relationship's going to go away because you're changing the way you're dealing with things. You're responding, you're thinking, you're emoting because of the way you're thinking.
Yeah.
They all ties hand in hand.
It does. It does. And it's like trying to turn your head far to the right and trying to walk in a straight line. Your body wants to go where you're looking.
Right.
Your life wants to go where you're thinking.
I love that. And it
Mhm.
reminded me of a crab, like the crab walk, like you go out to the side.
Yeah.
So I need to stop here because it's charity shout out time, and I would be remiss if we did not talk about your favorite charity, which is Second Chance Ministry in Windsor, which is secondchanceministry.org. Let's talk about what they do and how they help and how others can help this organization.
It's a wonderful group of volunteers who deliver furniture and necessities of life to families in need. Originally, it helped with men who had been freed from prison and couldn't get a start. So it helped them get a start. But I think that's the Second Chance Ministry part. But now it has evolved to be bigger than that. But I think that it's when people need that second chance, they're there for them.
I love it. We so need to help our own. I mean, I know you're in Canada and I'm in the States, but we're still the North American continent. So in my opinion, we're brethren and it's our own. And it doesn't make a difference where you live, helping out, being of service, you can never go wrong. It builds up heavenly brownie points.
Yeah. Yeah. And it feels good.
It
There you
feels
go.
great. So please check out secondchanceministry.org. See how you can help them if this resonates with you, or the charity of your choice. I know that, again, so much is going on in our backyards, but so much is going on in the country, in the world, that could use your support and help. So wherever your heart feels the need to give, you feel great when you do it. So thanks for sharing that one, Melissa. All right. So what have I not touched upon that you'd like to talk about?
I think it's important to think about the role that we all play in our own growth, personal growth, and let's talk about selfishness. Is it selfish to work on our own thoughts, to work on our own selves, to work on our own inside out when we have people who need us and that we're supporting? I know we know the answer to that, but let's talk about it.
That would be a resounding no. It's not selfish.
Right. But it sometimes feels selfish.
Yes.
But the age old, you can't serve from an empty cup, all of those things. The more that we can invest in ourselves and in our own growth and in our own happiness at the core, the more we can teach our children, teach the people we work with, lead by example. And the better we help the whole planet in its entirety. Like the best work we can do in this planet is to start by working on ourselves, and our right thinking will create a really positive environment for others to think better as well.
So true. My first teacher, Alexandra, I paraphrase, but her metaphor with, going through her school would be, you need to clean out your own closets before you can help anybody clean out theirs. You can't teach someone to have a clean and organized closet, let's say, because we're talking closets, if yours isn't clean and organized. You have to teach from where you are. Does that
Mhm.
make sense?
Yeah, and teach from where you are, and you don't have to be there. You
Nope.
can just be here. Like it's the process of going through it. So if you're a mom or a dad and you've got kids and you're like, oh, my mind's messy, my mind's messy, and then you think you can't help your kids make their minds not messy until yours becomes uncluttered. It's not true. Do it together. Let them see you working on it. Do a family brain dump once a month where like what's working in this house, what's not, what's working in your life, what's not. And it just start with things like that. To start with yourself, recognize that it's not selfish, it's self-full, it's self-love.
It's self-preservation.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it
And
is
and the
self-love.
more that you take care of yourself, the more the people who look to you will feel better about taking care of themselves as well.
So you're the example, right? And you're the role model. If you're not
We
taking
always
care of
are.
yourself, then your family sees it, your friends see it. Well, and it's, well, if she's not doing it, why should I do it? Becomes the attitude.
Yeah. Or not even knowing, like sometimes you don't know what you don't know. Like I
That's
didn't know that day as I was walking through the store why I felt this heavy weight on my shoulders and this cloud following me. And it was something so simple. And I didn't even know before that I could just stop in the middle of the store and totally reset my day by taking like literally 60 seconds, just going, what is this feeling? What's it telling me? Oh yeah, I have to release that. Okay, done. Like it becomes so simple and automatic. And the more we do it, the more, yeah, everything gets better and better and better and better and better.
I do have to say, I love that idea of a family weekly dump.
Hmm.
I'm sure it's not going to feel great at first, but I feel that as the more you do it, the easier it becomes. Because if you don't take anything personally, I think that's a huge caveat to doing a family dump or even a self dump. But if you don't take it personally and you just say, this is just the facts, you can work from a more neutral place, and there are no wounds. You don't walk away wounded because of the dump.
Well, yeah, because part of the dump is only the one column. You're not finished until you do the other side. So, I don't like it when this happens. So how would you like it to happen? And then that becomes maybe the child, the parent doesn't know what the other side looks like. And then as a group, you're like, oh, well, it could look like this, or we could try it like that. And rather yeah, it's a dump, but it's a dump in, oh, it's like pulling the weeds. You've planted the seeds, pull the weeds, and then the flowers will grow.
My friend, the rhymer. Yes.
Yeah, right. I can't stop.
But it's true, but it's just important to go in and not think that whatever's is, even though you might be part of whatever they're dumping, this isn't about you. It's about what they're dumping and what they need to process.
Well, because it's never about us, ever. When it's someone else. It's always about us when it's us. So anything that offends you or hurts your feelings is about how you're perceiving it. It always comes back to you and your
Right.
perception and your dealing with whatever the facts are. It's never about them.
Yeah. So when you're dealing with your own stuff, you're dealing with you. But when you're part of somebody else's stuff, don't take it personally. As Don
Mhm.
Miguel Ruiz says, don't take it personally.
Yeah. Yeah, because only you can get hurt by that. And then the whole relationship. And sometimes you have to walk away from relationships, no doubt, but only because it's a choice, not because of anything else.
Well, I'm going to take it a step further because relationships can be toxic. And
Yeah.
so you make the choice to leave a toxic relationship. It's like, and I don't know why during this conversation, I've just had this vision of Pigpen. You remember Charles Schultz,
Mhm.
Charlie Brown, and there was Pigpen who always had this cloud of
Yeah.
dirt around. And that's what it's like when I just walk around with all this muck that you in your thoughts or whatever, that you clean them, get rid of them, put them aside, and then you won't have that cloud hanging over your head.
Yeah, and actually, I have a little story I'd love to
I
share with
love
you
it.
about that. Okay, so I spoke with someone years ago. I'm like at least 7 years ago now. And I'd never met her before. We were on the phone and she was saying to me, I see you running. And I was like, yeah, at the time I was a runner or jogger. And so she's like, I see you jogging or I see you running. And I'm like, yes, yes. And she said, but there's something that's chasing you. And then I realized she was talking about my life. And she said, something's chasing you. She said, it's a big cloud, it's a dark cloud. It's like a cyclone and it's getting bigger and bigger. And the closer it gets to you, the faster you run away from it. And I said, yes, yes. And she said, well, it just has a message for you and it wants you to turn around and face it. And I thought, wow. And from that point on, I learned to just stop and face whatever it is. Like face it, not like, I mean, literally like turn around and just say, like, what are you trying to tell me? What is the message here? Because what can be so bad? Running away from it felt like horrible. What could
Hmm.
be worse? The truth? Then you
Right.
deal with it.
The truth shall set you free.
Yeah, and it will help heal your pain. And that was one of the biggest changes of my life. I stopped
I,
running away from myself.
that was really, I got goosebumps when you were telling the story,
Yeah.
which was amazing. But it's so true. I was having a conversation with my brother yesterday, and he told me something, and it's got to be like 20, I don't know, almost 25 years ago. And it's like, and you're just telling me this now? Knowing this back then would have been such an
Yeah.
epiphany and might have just released me from things that that were just kept coming with me year after year, day after day, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I love that. Face it,
Mhm.
because it's like fear. I always say if you can get through that veil of fear, you'll find on the other side that it's not as big, or you'll find it better than what you were afraid of. When you get through
100%.
that.
Because spirit is a messenger. Just like resistance. I always say resistance is our master messenger. If you're resisting something, dig into why. What are you resisting? Because that will tell you so much about yourself that's right there that you don't know what it. There's a turnaround and face it. Any resistance that comes up in your life, ask yourself what you're really resisting. Because there's going to be like 3 or 4 layers, and all of a sudden you'll have this aha.
Yeah. And it takes courage to do this. I have to tell you, this is a very courageous act that you do for yourself, not for anybody else. You do it for you, and you really prove to yourself how much courage you really have within.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. And with that courage comes the freedom as well. And I think, you know, you're so locked up when you're hiding from yourself. So yeah, it's courage to face yourself, but there's so much more on the other side that it's almost like the courage is the smallest part of it, but it's the most important first step.
Hmm. It's really big, and when you take that step, of courage, you more courageous. With
Yeah.
every step forward you take, you get more courageous and more curious.
Mm-hmm.
I think,
100%.
yeah. So let's get curious on our thought nutrition
Yes.
and then start putting aside. I was meant to say earlier in the show that when I brought up the book, it wasn't to bring up the book, it was to talk about, I have an exercise called Clear Delete. And that is when you have those thoughts and you recognize that you've had a not so positive thought, say clear delete 3 times, or people say transmute, or whatever you want to say, but stop the energy from flowing back, out, so it comes back to you. When you clear delete a negative thought, a negative word, or an action, what you do is you stop that boomerang effect into your life.
Yeah, I love that. I use my thing is tell me what I need to know. That's my clear delete, but I love clear delete too. But mine's like, what are you trying to tell me? Tell me what I need to know to align to my path and live in my flow.
I love that.
Yeah, another
Yeah,
run.
we're mutual admiration people for
We
each other.
are. It's so true. It's so true.
So, hey, Melissa, thank you so much. I can't believe the time is up already. It went by so fast. So enjoyed having you on again. And this time we got to see you the whole entire time. So,
Wonderful. I loved it. And
just,
can I just say too, Marla,
yes.
my course is free. It's $49, but when they use the link that we've given them, they'll get a coupon code that says Guided Spirit, and then it will be made free.
So tune into Melissa's class. I have a choice, and we all have a choice. So it's a great title for a class, and I'm sure you're going to get incredible content from it. Check out Melissa's website at melissa-lyons.com so that you can see what she does and how she can work with you. You can email Melissa at melissa-lyons.com. If you have any questions that we haven't answered here on this show, or you have a question that you just want to ask Melissa privately. So check her out, write to her, and see how she can help you in your thought nutrition process. So, Melissa, thank you again. I want to thank Bridget because, as always, she's my right hand, my left hand, my tech master, and I am so grateful for you and all you do for me. I want to thank you, the listening audience, for taking time out of your day, out of your life to participate in this show. Whether you're watching it live or you're watching it on a replay, so grateful that you are here at all. So know that I'm so grateful to you. I want to remind you that if you're in the Charlotte area, I will be at the Bag Lady at 1516 East 4th Street tomorrow, Friday, from 2:30 to 6:30, offering sessions on past life regression and spiritual response therapy. If you are not ready for a session but would like to come in and say hello, please do. Say hello. Would love to see you and meet you and have a conversation. Again, I ask that we send prayers and hope and healing energies to the people of Ukraine, support for the soldiers, for the people who are working hard to fight, whether they're trained soldiers or just fighting to save their country. Prayers to you as well. Please look into how you might be able to help them with support and donations. This is really important for the whole world. It's not just for the Ukrainian people, because if they can't fight their fight, well, we just don't know what'll happen if this individual wins his war. So prayers, prayers, prayers. And I'm going to leave you by sending you love, blessings, and gratitude. Again, I say I'm so grateful that you're in my life in whatever capacity you're in it. And I'm going to say these words to you. I love you. You are loved. You are never alone. If you have a need, if you need support, if you need help, call out to your guides, your guardians, your angels. They're on this other side of the veil, just waiting to conspire to bring to you what it is you need in your life. Be open to how you receive it, but say it out loud, because they feel the vibration even larger. So please do that. And next week, my guest will be me, and I will be talking about all things metaphysical. So I invite you to tune in. I look forward to you being a part of the show. And until next week, stay well, know you're loved, and be safe. Take care.